Okay, so Coast Guard is with us,
Yes. Yeah, we have Eric, Jimmy, and Micah from the Coast Guard on.
and we are starting with them, right?
Yes.
Okie doke. So let me know when I should begin.
You can go ahead, Paul. The three folks from the Coast Guard are all dialing in, but they're all on right now.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. Paul Goldstein here, Chair of the Waterfront Parks and Cultural Committee. Welcome to our meeting for the month of March. Also here today, we have Andrew Zelter, the co-chair, as well as Diana Sweetai, our land use director and liaison for this committee. So let us get started. Item number one is a report from the Coast Guard on what they're doing. As many of you are aware, they do have a building down at the Battery, and we've gotten some questions as to what's going on with that building. Is it how is it being used, et cetera. So they've been kind enough to join us to fill us in on what they're doing and how they operate, et cetera. So let me start by introducing, I guess I could introduce all three, or should I just introduce you, Micah, and you'll do the rest? The main presenter, I believe, is Commander Micah Bonner. He's Director of Auxiliary Southern Region, 1st Coast Guard District, and he's been joined by a couple of his associates, Commander Eric Runyon and Chief Warrant Officer James Laird. But I will, Micah, do you have a presentation for us, or should we just hit you with questions?
Paul, I think I can start with kind of a brief introductory of the folks on the call a little bit, and then we'll be here to answer questions and what we can answer. There's some things that I won't be able to answer depending on what the questions are, but we'll do the best job to our ability to provide some input and information. It's kind of in preparing for this, not knowing what kind of the overview or what the committee kind of discussed, pretty much came in as, hey, I'm the senior person at the Battery building there in Manhattan. I'm not in charge of the building per se, but I'm in all the meetings when the decisions are being made, and I'm kind of the main POC for what's going on at the Battery building. So we'll kind of go from there. I'll kind of give a brief introductory to myself. And actually, Eric, if you could just talk a little bit about who you are, your background, and then after Commander Runyon goes, Bosun Laird, we'll allow him to tell a little bit about his career, and then I'll go into mine, and then I'll talk a little bit about the Battery building and what's going on right now. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome. Well,
and welcome
with that,
again.
Eric, I'll kind of pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Micah. Appreciate it. Hey, good evening, everybody. This is, like Micah says, Commander Eric Runyon. I'm the prevention department head at Coast Guard Sector New York here on Staten Island. And although, I'll just say, although we don't have, from the Coast Guard sector's perspective, we have a small footprint in that building. I know that there are multiple commands in that building that are Coast Guard related, and then there's some other agencies, I believe, but I think Mike will be able to speak to that a little bit better. But so there's multiple things going on over there. I know from my past experience being at the district office up in Boston, and I'm actually going to be transferring up there this June. So I'll be right back at district, and I know that there's quite a few units there at the Battery building that are basically detached units or personnel that are staged here in New York that are part of the Coast Guard 1st District office in Boston. And so So there is a footprint, I can say for sure, that's related to the district office and Coast Guard district office up in Boston. So, but I do know it's undergoing some renovations. I think, and Micah, you probably can speak more to this and the timeline and what's going on there. But it absolutely is an active building as far as what we're using it for. So. Barring any questions, I'll turn it back over to Micah. Over.
Thanks, Eric. Jimmy, you mind just give a little bit about yourself and what you do at the Battery Building?
Yes, sir. Yep, we have. So I work directly with Commander Bonner. We oversee about 3,000 auxiliaries in the general area, and the auxiliary is a volunteer component of the Coast Guard. They do a myriad of missions for us, and we oversee kind of the operations, the training, and just the conduct and discipline of them. We are one of a number of different detached commands to the building. With that said, we have a recruiting office. We have a bridges office that oversees a lot of the bridges and in the general region here. We have a judge advocate office, or we have a number of lawyers that work out of the Battery Building. We have a public affairs office, so we have a number of public affairs members, and their jobs are primary to deal with any kind of media or any kind of coverage with the Coast Guard with what we do. There's also a bridges program that oversees, not the bridges, the AMBER program that deals with kind of international search and rescue. And we also have some detached investigative offices. So we have a number of different detached offices that makes us a very unique spot in Lower Manhattan there. And so we all kind of work for different commands, but we all, work together as neighbors in the building and oversee a very special spot. As we all know, the building was built in the 50s, and for the most part, it's been pretty much untouched. It was a lot of the personnel that used to be over on Governor's Island across the way moved over to our building when the Coast Guard got rid of Governor's Island and our base there, moved everything to Staten Island and the Battery Building. So that's kind of like what led to the separate offices that we have in the Battery Building. And so with that said, being a building that's as old as she is, we are actively going through a number of different renovations and repairs on it right now, which is much needed. I'm sure everybody has noticed the new brick facade that we have on the outside, and as well as some general landscaping, all new windows. And that was an exterior project we did last year, and we're getting ready to kick off, we are about a third of the way into an interior project right now, which has been a pretty massive renovation that includes new electrical work throughout the building, plumbing, and air conditioning and heating. So the building's been a very interesting place to work the last couple of years I've been there. But overall, it's a real fun place to work, and we have a bunch of detached units that make us a very eclectic group, if you will. So I think that's a pretty brief overview of the Battery Building, what we do, and kind of what's going on right now. Unless you want me to cover anything else there, Commander.
That's good, Jimmy. I appreciate that. Appreciate the kind of summary that you provided. Start with myself, again, Commander Micah Bonner, just shy of 21 years in the Coast Guard. I'm the baby of the group on the phone. Bosun Laird has close to 23 years, and Commander Onion is a well-seasoned guy with about 35 years of Coast Guard experience. And so you have some pretty senior level folks on the call here. Bosun Laird gave you a summary of the different commands that we have there. None of those units work for me. They all have their own command in separate locations from where the building is. When I say District 1, that's Boston, what Eric was speaking about earlier. So the main district office where Commander Runyon will be going to work this summer is located in Boston. And I work directly for the district as well as a couple other commands within the Battery Building. And based off of all of the huge amount of operations that go on in the greater New York area, having that local footprint here, well, in the local area of the city, allows us to be able to work better and closer with the partners that we have in New York. And so that's why you have that separation there, and everything that we have kind of funnels through Boston there. As I spoke before, I'm kind of the building POC as the most senior member at the building. So if there's anything going on with the project, as Bosun mentioned, they had a pretty large scale exterior project to do the windows and the brick and a lot of the landscaping on the outside. And that's right when I was checking in. I've been at the building just shy of 2 years now, and we're currently in the middle of that interior rehab. I mean, we're talking about a building that was built back in the 50s, and a lot of the things inside of the building needed some tender love and care done to them. And so that's what's currently going on, making that building more amenable to the folks that are assigned there, more civilian personnel than military personnel, but there's still a large number of military personnel as well. And based off of the high visibility things that go on in New York with 9/11 and other things, it's a nice touch point for folks to come in, VIPs and leadership, whether that's commanding officers from different units and things of that nature. They may show up from time to time to have a touch point and a essential key hotspot there in the city. And so that's kind of a general overview. Like I said, I don't make any of the decisions for what's being done for the building. I'm kind of the guy that they send an email to that says, hey, this is being done to the building. We want you to kind of look in on it, oversee it, make sure things are going on pretty smoothly, and be kind of our ground level checkpoint person to make sure things go over smoothly. And so more like a glorified building manager when it comes to the battery building side of the house, other than the auxiliary job that Bosun Laird mentioned, to where we have 3,000 Coast Guard auxiliaries that volunteer to support boating safety in the greater New York and Connecticut and New Jersey area. So those folks ultimately work for us, and we kind of regulate the things that they do. And so that's my actual Coast Guard job. The building part of the job is what we call a collateral within the Coast Guard, which I'm pretty sure other folks have the extra duties that you have. They just won't give us a bonus for those extra duties. They just expect you to do them anyway, and they keep getting more and more the more you go up with any organization. And so you just understand that at this point of our careers where we're at. And so that's kind of the general overview. There's probably 7 to 8 commands there within the unit. Several people assigned within the battery building, and they kind of all touch base with me when it comes to just building related stuff. So with that, I'll kind of open it up and to any questions that you may have, and we'll go from there.
How many did you say were at the battery building? Sorry.
Oh, at any given time, it's because I'm not over all commands. I don't know what their actual numbers are, but you're talking upwards to 52 to 7,500 people in there at a time.
52 to 7,500. Okay. Let's open it
somewhere
up.
In that number.
It's a lot. Okay. Okay. Let's get a few members of the committee who want to speak. And the first is Andrew Zelter.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks to the team for that update. It's quite informative and helpful. I'll certainly acknowledge that I'm probably somewhat ignorant as to the operation and activity that occurs out of that building, and I was one of the folks that raised my hand and wanted to learn more. So tonight was very helpful. Couple of questions, and we don't need to get very granular, but I just sort of a high-level summary. So you mentioned the exterior project involved some degree of landscaping. Can you just give us some general sense of what that landscaping was, and did that at all involve any interaction with New York City Parks Department? I wouldn't think so, but I'm not sure.
No, it was just right up against the building. And so it was just a lot of the dead trees and plants that were right on the Coast Guard portion of the property. Once you get into the actual parking spaces there in front of the building, those belong to the park, to New York. So it was just the stuff that was right up against the building.
Got it. Okay. And a second question, is that an active dock? Are you able to launch vessels from there, from that location?
No, we are not. And Commander Runyon could probably speak to that a little bit more, and maybe even Bosun, just because before I got there, that dock was condemned for boats to be able to launch off of there, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, Micah. That dock is condemned. And I know there's been discussion in the past about rehabbing that dock and bringing other entities into that space, but they've done from what I understand, they've done past navigation risk safety assessments, and have determined that it's just not a very good location. It's not feasible in relation to being very close to the Staten Island Ferry there, as well as you've got the East River and the Hudson converging right there. So it's a little bit of a precarious spot, and again with the busy traffic in and out of there with Whitehall Terminal. But that dock is condemned.
And any decisions related to a dock, would that again be taken at the federal level, or is it a city decision? Is it a collaborative conversation?
I believe it would have to go through probably the first district office, as well as one of our subcommands is in Providence, Rhode Island, that oversees like the buildings and infrastructure type stuff. So I would imagine it would have to go through a minimum as well. But I would first engage with the first district office with anything related to that building and the property there.
Got it. And then last question, and thanks for your patience. So you mentioned at any time 50 to 100 people sort of in and out of the building. Do you have any sense at full capacity what that number would be? What is the full capacity of that building?
I would imagine it would be somewhere at 100, but because of COVID, those numbers have been lower, and so that's why I would say 50 people could at any given time, but you could fit up to 100. But with COVID and some of the dynamics that go on with social distancing and teleworking options and things of that nature, you could have less people in there.
Sure. Got it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, let's keep going. Next hand up is Mark Amarusa.
Hi, thank you. I have a question. It's maybe just a little bit off topic. Full disclosure, I'm a U.S. Navy, 18 years. So, sir, good to meet you. The facility, if there should be some kind of emergency terrorist attack or something of the nature, the first responders would come from Staten Island? Coast Guard first responders?
Well, I mean, there's multiple federal, state, local agencies that would be responding if you're talking about something like that. Yes.
Yeah, specific for Coast Guard. Yeah.
Yeah, from a maritime nexus perspective, yes, Coast
Right.
Guard would absolutely be involved.
But their vessels would deploy from Staten Island because there's no docking available in Manhattan. Is that accurate?
Well, we have Coast Guard small boat stations and cutters, throughout the New York, New Jersey AOR.
Okay.
There's already permanent stations in place.
What's the closest one to Lower Manhattan?
It's right here on Staten Island. It's right.
The Staten Island one. So it would be the Staten Island one. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what I was curious about. And
Right.
and the command structure would be at your location though, right? Since all the different commands are there to coordinate.
Well, please keep in mind the New York, the Port of New York, New Jersey, that AOR is the cat in the port zone for Coast Guard Sector New York, which again is based right here on Staten Island.
Okay.
The infrastructure, or the footprint over at the battery has nothing to do with response
Okay.
to search and rescue or enforcement or anything like that. That is not the footprint. Those particular commands over there have nothing to do with that mission set. That is all based over here at Sector New York. We have multiple subunits strategically placed throughout the AOR that would be that would facilitate those mission sets.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
And if I may, Paul, and if I may, we're more of an administrative building. It's more along those lines for all of the commands within that building, and we align ourselves with the sector. So Captain Merchant over at Sector New York oversees the whole area, and so if there's any direction that's put out from the sector, all the commands there would align with the direction that comes out from the operational unit. And once those came down, I would be responsible for making sure everyone in the building would be in alignment with what we were asked to do at the battery building.
Okay, got it. All right, let's try to have 3 more members of the community board speak on this topic. Tammy, you're up next.
Well, as chair, I'd love actually if everybody from the committee went first, and I'll wind up last for my questions. Because I think Alice is going to go mine. So I'll wait. Thank you, though.
Okay, Eric is actually next, and then I'll call on Alice.
Yeah, hi. I got a question. How did this building fare during Superstorm Sandy? And how do you think it'll fare? I mean, what preparations have been done for the next storm?
Jimmy, do you want to go with that one?
Yeah. I do know that there was some basic waterfront damage that happened during Sandy. The prior gate, we do have a gate guard that is manned 24/7. That person is employed by the National Park Service because the National Park Service, as everyone knows on this phone call, obviously works in and out of Battery Park, and so they store their cars there. And use our facilities as they deem fit. So that small building was damaged during Superstorm Sandy. There has been some. I know in the past that they have used. They've inserted some strength along the water line. From when I've had some conversations with the CEU folks, the civil engineering people, that they have put some supportive items in along the waterfront right there after that. So it is structurally sound, but I don't that's the extent of any other improvements that I know have been made right there on the waterfront.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Alice.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks so much for that really fascinating presentation. I think all of us are really eager to know what happens in there. I just want to make sure I understand it. So there are 52 people, not 5,200, 52 people today.
Anywhere from 50 to 100.
50 to 100 people. Okay, I heard 50
to 100.
Right.
So like I said, for me, the command, I'm only in charge of one command. So the other 6 or 7, they're responsible for their kind of personnel, and for any given day or safety situation, the security guards there would know how many personnel are in the building if we had to evacuate for whatever reason. But from a strictly numbers standpoint, how many people on their staff, they have the knowledge of that.
Right. And did I just understand you're at the end of an 8-year renovation or a 1-year? This has been a 8-year renovation of the building, or?
So when I checked in about a year and a half ago, there was an 8-month renovation of the exterior.
Okay. And so
right now we're in the midst of another interior renovation that's been going on for about a year.
So I guess, is there any area of access that's open to the public in the building? I mean, needless to say, you have probably the most premier location in the entire city of New York, or one of them. So I'm just curious, I think it would be so wonderful if there's some way that at certain points of the year, there could be some access. And is there a public area? Is there a place that is open to the public ever?
No, there's not. At any given time, there's recruiting office there. So you have some non-military personnel that come in that are signing up for the military. But other than that, everyone there is a federal employee or an active military member. That's not to say I don't know in the past if there's been a tour given or anything of that nature. I'm not sure that's something it would be open to, because like I said, I would have to discuss that with the folks that kind of manage the building from a headquarters standpoint, but no, there's no public access areas there.
Well, I would love to believe that that's something we could work towards. I like the idea that you would be open to it. I mean, it is called the National Maritime Center. Is that correct? Not the Battery Building, but is that the correct name? Right.
Wait. No, it is the Battery Building, and the Regional Exam Center is one of the commands that is there, and so you do actually have people who come in to take their license, like renewals or certifications through there as well.
All right. Well, I leave it with that, Paul, that maybe at some point we think about how we might be able to work in some sort of public access to that building and to that area a little bit more for the community someday. Anyway, thank you so much. It was really very edifying. Thanks.
Hey, Paul, real quick, we had, if you might remember, some years ago, we had one of our HRPT council meetings there once. So I don't know if they're amenable to that again at some point, but many years ago.
Okay. One quick question. Do you own the building, the Coast Guard?
Yes, we do.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. All right. So with that, let me let Tammy go, and then I'll see if I have any final comments myself after that.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for coming. It's delightful to see you. I am curious simply because for all of the resiliency meetings that the city has put on, which is been backed with information from the state and from engineers and other things, there are plans that were shown for not only rehabbing, obviously, the Battery Wharf, which includes the space right around your building. Are you involved with the dialogues for that, or is the building management involved with the dialogues for that?
Not that I'm aware of right now. I don't want to speak for our civil engineering unit. It's possible that they could be, but if they are, I'm not aware of it. I could definitely ask and find out.
I would highly appreciate if you could ask and have them be in touch with us, with our office through Diana would be fantastic. And pursuant, kind of following along that same line of discussion, I understand that the pier is condemned, but for some odd reason, New York City seems to think that it is still an okay location, according to the engineers that they've consulted, for a new pier to be built there. And do you have any, again, perhaps it's best to have that dialogue with the civil engineers, but we were shown potential plans for example, including a brand new pier that's in front of the building that would be active, part of activating the waterfront.
Well, again, that's something I'm not currently aware of, but I would definitely put you in contact with our point of contacts at the civil engineering unit, because they would be the ones that would have all of the original plans and would send the experts out to have those discussions and figure out if that's something that's doable or not.
That would be perfect. We would really, really be delighted to hear from them. And then lastly, do you have any conference space in that building or large meeting rooms? It's always sort of like the mystery building of offices. We don't really know what's in there.
Well, we do have spaces that we meet in. Like someone mentioned in the past, that there were folks that were able to have access and meet in there. Don't know the circumstances surrounding that, but if that was something that through future communications we were in conversation about, it's something that I could definitely push up to my bosses to say, hey, this is a group of folks. They would like to meet. This is why they would like to meet, and this is where they would like to meet and when. And I would lean on kind of their decision making based off of kind of having control and oversight of the building itself.
That'd be fantastic. We'd certainly be open for that dialogue. And with that, Paul, thank you so much. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us at Manhattan Community Board 1. Do not be a stranger. You are in our neighborhood and an integral part of it. So thank you.
All right, thank you as well.
Thank you, Tammy. And again, I just will echo what others have already said. Great presentation, lots of good information. And yes, let's keep the dialogue open and see how we could work together on a variety of issues down there at the Battery. Okay, so I thank you, Micah, Eric, and James for coming to the meeting, and I wish you a good evening.
All right, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. All right. We are going to move on to Hudson River Park, who I know is under some sort of time constraint. So let's get right to it. We do have with us from Hudson River Park a couple of new staffers, 2 new executive vice presidents. First one is Robert Atterberry. He's executive VP of Park Relationships and Programs. And also with us is Rob Rodriguez, executive VP of Park Management and Operations. And they are here to update us on what's going on with Hudson River Park. So, Robert, do you want to get started?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry that we have I have the next meeting. We have quite a number of communities, and I get backed up. My name is Robert Atterberry. I am the executive vice president here for Park Relationships and Programs. I oversee all of our education efforts and our public programming. So that's our dance programming, our free exercise classes, as well as sort of all our event and field permitting. And so that's sort of my pure view. Some of you may remember me before this. I was with Congressman Nadler's office, so I'm very familiar with a lot of CB1's issues and concerns. So it's always fun to cross paths again. But with that, I'll turn it over to Rob if you want to say hello.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Rob Rodriguez here, the executive vice president for park management. I have oversight of operations and facilities, as well as public safety and horticulture and maintenance, ground maintenance and horticulture. So, all of the kind of the back end stuff that everyone gets to enjoy for the park. We started in January. Before this, I was the park superintendent of Liberty State Park on the Upper New York Bay, Hudson River in Jersey City. I was there for about a decade, and before that, I bounced around in different park entities within the state of New Jersey. So that's a little bit about my background. Robert?
Sure. So that's the two of us, and Paul, is it all right? I'll kick off and do our little bit of our general update, and then we can take some questions.
Perfect.
Awesome. So, you guys, CB1 has not quite as much territory of the park as everyone else, but you do have some of our best piers. And so I am thrilled to give you a little bit of an update. The first one is on our science playground. And that's going between 25, 26. Where you guys might be familiar, sort of the piers down there. We do have, as I think you guys may have known, we fundraising. Our friends arm has completed the fundraising for the science playground. We're currently working on the technical designs. So that's things like fall heights and bar spacing and equipment spacing to make sure that it's sort of meets all of the technical standards, as well as I'm told, this is an interesting one, the anatomy of the sturgeon, and as it's going to be displayed as part of it to make sure that it maintains its educational character. I have not asked the design team what parts of the anatomy, but we'll all find out soon. The next one is that our estuarium, as folks know, we've been planning the estuarium for a similar area. Responses were all due on the March 11th. We were actually very thrilled with the response and the sort of level of responses that we got. And so the next stage is that we are entering into sort of the review of the responses. We go over them to eventually select a design team, at which point we'll begin the design process and come back and engage you guys about the overall design. So we're doing sort of the back end contracting piece now. And then my final two updates, a little bit more general. One is our education programming is live. I just want to flag it for everyone. Our virtual field trips are live. You can book, particularly for the spring program, on our website right now. Our most popular programs, and these are the virtual ones, education programs, are Pollution Solutions, which is for grades 3 through 8. And community conversations for 6 through 12. We also have upcoming on the 22nd, and this is also on our website, essentially an open house and webinar for educators to get more familiar with their programming and learn a little bit more about how they can take advantage of our resources. We have a lot of resources. We have 5 curriculums that we've created in-house that have been translated into multiple languages. We have any number of free resources. Those are experiments and things that educators can use in their own classrooms with or without us. So I just wanted to flag that for anyone. If anyone else is able to share that with interested educators or parties, we have a lot of partners already in Lower Manhattan and across Manhattan and the 5 boroughs generally, but always looking to help spread the good word. And then my final one is our Compost Tracker. Our Compost Tracker is a new, brand new in the past month and a half tracker where you can look online and see the amount of compost that we are collecting and turning into usable soil for different collection points, including the ones downtown. So you actually can see by neighborhood sort of where we are collecting and which communities are providing us the most compost, which is what we use for all our planting beds and flowers. And then so those are sort of the general updates, and I think we are happy to take any questions if you guys have them.
Okay, very good. Let me start out with one quick question. Do you have an expected opening date for the Pier 26 playground?
I do not. I know we are still sort of moving on track, but I don't have an expected opening date yet. Once we get into the actual construction phase, I think we'll have a clearer picture of what the construction schedule looks like.
This year, though, right?
I believe so. I can report back with exactly when I can check in sort of what the estimated time is.
Okay, if you could get back, that would be great. Okay, let me call on a few others who have their hands up. Alice Blank.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks, Robert. I just wasn't sure I quite understood the request for proposals for the estuarium design services were due last week, I guess, or a couple of weeks ago. So when will those be? What's going on? Sorry, what's happening next?
So the next step is sort of the internal review and the selection of a design team, and that's something that the trust does before we come back to the community as part of the community engagement process as we create the design. So the next step is the internal contracting piece, and I don't have a hard time on that. It's a little bit squishy.
Well, I mean, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I mean,
Hopefully we should have an update and be able to start moving something forward much sooner than that. I'd say hopefully sometime this spring, but we don't have an exact time on sort of what that next stage would be or when the next point where we would be able to come back on it.
and just one more question, is the RFP a public document that is somewhere available to be seen?
The RFP, I believe, yes, it should. It is a public document. It should be on the website.
It's on the website. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, Kathy Gupta.
Hi. The park is wonderful, and I'm just wondering if you've ever thought about some mode of transportation for those who can't necessarily walk or bike a great length. And I'm thinking like a bicycle rickshaw. Is that
I can't say that I have heard those conversations. I know we have particularly the Greenway, heaviest used Greenway, immediately adjacent for State DOT's piece on the bikeway. I don't know if we have had conversations about providing transportation internally. I think it would be a little bit difficult either for the along the Esplanade or for us to try to take that on as a transportation aspect directly. I think there are a number of transportation services, but I'm not sure that we would be the appropriate party to do it.
and how would I find out what they are, those services?
Which services? So I mean, I think all of New York City's services are generally available for it. So I don't know. I don't think we have.
So you mean like a bus or a subway?
Bus or a subway or a taxi or a cab or any of the many other ways that folks move about.
But nothing internal to the park.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, Paul, I had another question. It's Alice. Sorry, Robert. It actually piggybacked onto Kathleen's. The ferry on Pier 26. I know we had talked about the idea of opening that up potentially for the public for some public use, which actually might be another way to access that area of the park from another area that has a ferry. Is that something that we could get any movement on, or is there any possibility for that where it's not just a private ferry for just the for the city bank?
I mean, I think it's certainly something that we can raise. I think if I remember correctly, there have been some concerns, and I would like to take a moment to lay them about conflicts, particularly with the water dependent uses and the sanctuary there. And I think we have not had any incidents or any major concerns about that. But I think transitioning to joining the public ferry system is it's a much heavier use. And so I think it would need to be a larger conversation about that area. And I will also say I'm not familiar with the contracts for what that with the use it has right now. So we'd have to check.
Well, that would be great. I'd like to advocate for that if it's possible with Tammy and Paul and others to sort of pursue that, Tammy, because that's something that we had on our radar,
right.
A while back. So if, to get movement on that would be really interesting and I think important. Thanks a lot.
Specific, Robert.
Yeah, one of the ideas suggested was a ferry possibly running to Governor's Island. That was suggested by the community board. So if you could take that back and see if that's feasible, that would be great. Tammy, did you want to say something?
We had talked about it being something working with the leagues to be able to get the kids back and forth for, athletics, and using it to make sure that with the limited space that we have, we could coordinate well for the athletic league. Because that was also a large conversation that we had. It, obviously with the expansion of the Governor's Island Ferry now planned for the spring and summer, we'd need to take a look at that as well.
But also, Tammy, there's nothing there. It seems to me that it would be a wonderful opportunity just for the general public when the boats are not filled. I mean, obviously, Citibank would always have the priority, but just to go across to the other side at that location, these boats are going back and forth every, I don't know, half an hour. So it seems like just for the general public, it's a wonderful, resource, given that it's already going back and forth. Why can't other people use it? And often I see it being quite empty. So just another thought.
And just to
Okay.
follow up on, just quickly, if I might follow up on Tammy's point, we had some initial discussions with city regarding weekend use, to Tammy's point, to Governor's Island. There were discussions that were at the time talking about spring season and downtown Little League being on Governor's Island. They weren't opposed to coming to the table and having a conversation, and then COVID hit and the season got canceled, and they've gone through a whole new change of leadership. So I think we're starting from scratch on that conversation.
Okay, so Robert, if we could maybe continue this at another forum, that would be great, because another season for the Little League is about to start. Okay. We do have one more person, Graham from the Boathouse. You're up. You're muted, so try to unmute yourself. Okay.
A little background on the Pier 25 ferry. It's not technically a ferry, it's a water taxi. There's a legal difference. I don't think you can have a ferry in the park. It is a privately run operation by Citibank, and I know that they did say you could run anything else. As far as this impact on the environment, I am aware that at low tide, it stirs up the mud quite a bit in shallow water. And I don't think the trust is looking at that. And it would be interesting if it did look at that. The other issue really is Pier 26 is the biggest complaint I get from community residents about the kayaking program I run at Pier 26 is we're too crowded. And I expect that complaint to come back in spades this summer. And my answer is always, well, I just need a bigger dock. I've got 200 boats in the boathouse, but I can only launch 60 for safety reasons because of the size of the dock. So just a really strong hint to the trust. We run the most popular free kayaking program in the world, and we are constrained by the size of the dock. If you were actually to replace it with one of those cheap modular docks that you've got now at 84 and 66, you'd save a lot of money. In fact, if you ever need to replace a dock or repair the dock, don't repair the dock. Sink the dock, get a cheap plastic one like we installed on Governor's Island. Everybody will be happy. Make sure it's twice as big, and that'll be great. Thanks.
Great. Kathy, did you want to speak again, or was that your hand from before?
Sorry, it's the hand from before. Let me put it down.
Okay, very good. Well, I think unless anyone else has a comment to make, we've covered all the speakers, and we got you guys in. You're ready for your next meeting. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Rob. Nice to meet both of you again.
Thank you all for having us.
Have a good night, everyone.
To be continued. Thank you.
All right. Take care now.
Okay. All right. Moving along. Next item is Brooklyn Bridge Banks. And we are going to have a presentation update from our Brooklyn Banks person who runs Brooklyn Bridge Manhattan organization. That's our own Rosa Chang. She's been doing a remarkable amount of work on that. And I know she's brought along today some representatives from nearby. We still call it Murray Bertram High School. You could correct that. We have the principal with us, Amy Pillar, and we also have a couple of the students, Mehdi Ramani and Liam Rice. But let me allow Rosa to start things off, and we'll take it from there. Take it away, Rosa.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Liam. How are you doing? Hi, Amy. And I think you're here somewhere, Medi. Hi.
Hello.
So I guess, oh, hi, Medi. So I guess I'm gonna start with, honestly, it feels like the world's falling apart. It feels like between, what's going on with what seems like the start of World War III and the random violence that we have in our cities and in our subways or streets and even in our homes, it feels like the world is falling apart. And I've been grappling a lot with like, are people really going to fight to build a new park because we have so many fires going on that we need to put out? And then, inevitably, a quote comes to mind from Bishop Desmond Tutu, which is, there comes a point where we need to just stop pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they are falling in. I was actually introduced to that quote from Mayor Eric Adams. So thank you. And I really do think that rather than spending billions on locking people up in jails, we need to actually start investing those same billions in people and the communities that we live in so that we don't actually end up in jail in the first place. And that's exactly why it's important to talk about the value of parks today, because parks are our civic infrastructure. They are equally as important as bridges and sewers and electricity. All of these things exist so that we can exist as a society. And parks are the space where we come together, where we learn from each other, and where we share and grow. It is the glue that binds us. And right now we sort of feel like we're falling apart at the seams. So that is how we go upstream and stop from falling into the river, because parks build us and we need to build parks. It's the long-term hard work of building a community and building up the people that live in it. So we need to simultaneously address the emergencies that are all around us and the root causes of those emergencies. So I want to thank you all for giving me some of your precious time again. And welcome, of course, as always, your participation and your input into how we're going to make this happen. And I want to start by saying thank you to so many people and organizations that are deep in the trenches with us making this happen, because Brooklyn Bridge Manhattan truly stands on the shoulders of giants. CB1 is actually the first giant, because without this committee and all of you guys, frankly, we wouldn't be having this conversation and we wouldn't be here. So thank you to everybody. To Chris Marte, who I actually met on a street corner in Tribeca and was the very first soon to be elected official who actually agreed to walk the site with us. And he came when he didn't even know whether this was just a totally cockamamie idea. He showed up and he kept showing up. And then he introduced me to Nancy, Nick, and Lucy at the Park Row Alliance, probably because he could sense that I didn't quite know what I was doing. And so they are true partners in this endeavor. And I have met so many amazing people along the way. Vic Lee and everyone at Welcome to Chinatown, who are just, amazing. And also Mark Levine, whose challenge of imagine a better Manhattan actually inspired me to imagine a better Manhattan. So he's awesome. And Senator Brian Kavanaugh, who took a really long time figuring out whether or not he actually supported this idea or liked this idea, but thankfully he decided he liked it a lot. And it's sort of like, I realized with him, it's sort of like passing a test, because if he decides he's behind it, then it sort of means it's an inevitability. So we might as well just admit that we have the park already. Now it's just about building it. And two organizations have been absolutely critical in helping us figure out how to make this happen and supporting us with their knowledge and experience and information and guidance and more. And that is Tony Hawk's Skate Park Project and Friends of the Highlines Public Space Alliance. And without their support, we would frankly be so far behind where we are today. So I just want to thank all of our giants. In terms of our news, the big news is that we have our 501c3 approval. And that is 100, I know. It took us a really long time, but that was my fault. The person who solved that problem was Nick from Park Row Alliance, because he actually filed it for us for free. because we have no money. So yes, it was a hint, in case you're wondering, to go to our website and donate. Now we have our 501c3. So go and donate some money. We are working with our friend organizations to understand how to set up for operations and maintenance. And now that we have met the new operations and maintenance person from HRPT, I'm going to be knocking on their door as well. But we're working with Chinatown Bid, Downtown Alliance, and Friends of the High Line to figure out the logistics of how to make that work. Because we want to have a safe and clean park when we have a park. That's incredibly important. We recently presented to our sister committee at CB3 last week, and we are happy to report that we have a resolution in support from them, which is going to go to a full board vote this month. So thank you to CB3, and thank you especially to our own Betty Kay, who set up the contact for us and the tour with Trevor Holland. We've had meetings with Van Allen Institute and the Design Trust, and we're looking forward to dialoguing with both of them and continuing to dialogue with both of them and get some more advice. And we also, per their recommendation, are looking at doing, a direct design consulting rather than doing a design competition. So we're starting that whole long process. We are also working on an economic and social impact analysis with HR&A, and that should be ready in about a month. And just so you guys know, the project's going to have an amazing impact in terms of jobs and economic revitalization for our community. And I am going to be so excited when we start putting real numbers towards that, because that's an important aspect of the project. We are also coordinating with Friends of the High Line on internships, and Nancy Kong is heading that up. And we are so excited to include young people on our team because they have so much energy and critical thinking skills, and they actually see roadblocks as hurdles just to be jumped over. So we are so honored to be hosting them and being part of their journey to becoming wonderful world changers. We're connecting with our sister parks in the neighborhood. So right now we're working with Parkview Alliance, City Hall Park, and Duane Park on the participatory budget that Chris Marte is doing. And we are excited to hopefully make some progress on that one. We've also presented to Chuck Schumer's representative and hope to be able to tour the senator soon. We are still working on getting a presentation through to the governor. So if anyone wants to connect us on that and help us make that happen, that would be awesome. In the words of Winston Churchill, he said, "We shape our dwellings, and afterwards our dwellings shape us." So my question to all of us is, as we consider what this park should be for us, is what kind of world do you want to live in? And what kind of world do you want that? What kind of human being do you want to be that world shapes you into? So we need to create spaces that help us grow into the best version of ourselves that we could possibly be. And that's what we're trying to build here. And that's what we need here. Like literally right here. So much more than we need a parking lot. For an update on what's been going on with Murray Bertram, Smith Houses, and the NYPD, we had a meeting at the school because, which all of our elected officials were, amazing to come to, because there are like 2,000 human beings in a building without operable windows, and we're over 2 years into a pandemic, which seems a little crazy. And directly across the street, there used to be park space that's been closed for over a decade and that isn't being used. And so we are advocating to reopen that space so that people, and mainly students, but our community as well, can socialize and play basketball and eat lunch and hang out. So we are working on that. Current status is that the elected officials are pressuring to get a tour with DOT Commissioner Ydanis Rodriguez so that he can see the situation for himself and hopefully, work with his own department or direct his own department to allow us to have access to that space. And so that is why we are so lucky to have the presenters who are here today from the student leadership team at the Urban Assembly Maker Academy. And I just love that name, the Urban Assembly Maker Academy, within the Murray Bertram High School. And so I think I'm going to give it away, but just for context, actually, I'm going to try to share screen so that you can see the map of what we are talking about. And that's not.
Hi, Rosa.
Okay.
Did you want, I could also try to, are you trying to get us to screen share our slides? Because we can do that if that's helpful.
That
Oh,
would
there we
also be
are.
awesome. Oh, there you were, but I'm like such a total Luddite that I obviously did it wrong.
Well, I see our students there. I see Medi and Phoebe and Marcella and me.
Cool. Okay. And so now I think I can stop the screen share. But just just so you guys know, so this right here is Murray Bertram High School.
Yeah, and you're probably familiar with it. Whenever you cross the Brooklyn Bridge and you're turning onto the FDR, it's that big building that you see on the right that almost looks like it has turrets in it.
Yeah. And these tiny little green spots, those are just the tiny little bits of the 9 acres that we have available there that we are asking to be reopened for use, that the DOT doesn't really need. Okay, and now I'm done. Take it away, Liam, Medi, and Amy.
Great. Thank you so much, Rosa. Thank you so much for having us here, everybody. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to all of you. It was really wonderful for us to have all of the community constituents and stakeholders at our library a few weeks back now to hear about this space and the potential for it to be used in other ways. And Rosa, just in terms of your opening and thinking through kind of everything that's going on in the world, it's really meaningful, I think, for us and for students to have opportunities to make proactive change in our local community. And as the principal of the school, we have about 500 students, but we're part of our bigger campus where we're about 2,000. And so most of our students go out to eat at lunchtime, particularly now in light of COVID. And there are really limited spaces where students are able to go. And so when everyone came to visit us a few weeks back and we got to go tour this space, the students got really excited about the potential of having a place where they could be themselves, be social, have some space and time to be together. So our student leadership team have put together a presentation to share with you their thoughts about this. They're also working on a 3D rendering of ideas for the space and drafting letters to various elected officials to help support the process. So I'm excited for them to share with you and to get your input. I also see Marcella, your hand is up, who's one of our student leadership team people. Hi, Marcella. We can't hear you if you're talking. But I'm gonna
get back to her.
We'll come back to her. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and screen share the slides, and then you have the wonderful Liam Rice and Mehdi Rahmani, who will then present the thinking of the student leadership team with you. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I have the right preference to be allowed to do this. Maybe not. Looks like I don't have the setting to be able to share the slides. Is there anyone else I could share the slides with who does have the right setting to be able to share slides?
Amy, I gave you presenter privileges, so you should be able to go through the share menu. Is it still not allowing you to?
Yeah, when I get there, it says to open system preferences. And when I open system preferences, it tells me that Cisco WebEx meetings is blocked by my Department of Education privacy
Is there
firewall.
someone else on your team that has the slides?
I know the students do, but I think they may have been having a similar issue. Liam, Mehdi, Marcella, anybody have?
I can't present it. I don't have permission, and it's like
Let me pass it on.
it's not really working.
Can you try it now?
And while they're trying that, is there anyone on the call who has this set up correctly for WebEx? Because I can just share the slides with you if you'd be able to help us.
I can share this or share the slides, like screen share. It's just that because the WebEx is a new app, it needs me to quit, like leave and then come back again to give it new permissions. So
Yeah, it's not working for me.
Amy, I
Yeah.
am sending you my email address so you can send it to
Okay.
me and I'll pull it up on my end.
Thank you. Where are you sending that to me? In a chat or something?
In the chat, in the meeting chat.
Okay. Yep.
You also have my email address, Diana.
Oh, yes.
Briefing thread.
Okay. I'm going to share the slides with you now.
Hi, this is Rosa. I think I may be able to do it. I'm going to try sharing. Oh, except I'm a total Luddite. Oh, bummer.
Rosa, I just passed presenter back to you if you could try again.
Okay.
Oh,
Do people see it?
yeah.
Oh.
Can you go back?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So this is the Brooklyn Bank's proposal for a community created by Marcela Rivera, Phoebe Kroenteg, Mehdi Rahmani, and Liam Rice. Next slide, please. So a quick about us. We are the student leadership team for Urban Assembly Maker Academy. We reinforce the students' voices to help improve our community. Our Maker core values are curiosity, risk-taking, self-awareness, and resilience are things we use to guide us. Yeah.
sorry, I was muted. So first hearing about this project, I think that we as a team thought that this was a very beneficial thing. You know, the first thing that we all thought about was kind of like our lunch and free time and how like in an urban environment, it's very difficult to find space to ourselves, and having this open space would be really beneficial for students' mental and physical health or well-being. It would give us a place to relax and unwind that wasn't like maybe like a small bench across in a small park. You know, this urban space that's already been there, already been recognized as a park before, having it like be renewed and restored back to what it usually or what it was originally would, you know, not only restore something that the community had before that we no longer have now because it's used for storage, but it would also give us a place to, you know, have a skate park or eat lunch or just sit around with friends, which is something that a lot of urban schools really don't have, especially because the city is getting more and more populated, more buildings are happening, and we're getting fewer parks. So we use it, students like see it, we were able to use it during lunchtime. We can use various sports and activities, whether it be something like some sort of club that we host and have it there, or some sort of enrichment thing that we all just get together and do. It creates some sort of this public space that I think that a lot of us think that we're lacking to have to be in our creative state. Next slide. So we kind of were thinking, what would the school community think? Because this isn't just a small student leadership team issue. This is something that affects not only the school community, but also the local community. So we had quotes from, it's frustrating to have nowhere to go during free time, before and after school. Providing this safe space is important for not only the student body, but also the general community, because it's not just something that the students get to access, but it's something that everybody benefits from. And it would give students a place to grow and call their own. And it would make somewhere for students to kind of foster their own growth and development in various different ways.
Thank you for listening to our proposal, and we just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your guys' day and like listening to our proposal, and yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Mehdi, and thank you, Liam. Really appreciate you guys being here this evening and everyone on this panel for listening. And if you have questions or thoughts for us or recommendations for how we can help support this going forward, we're all ears.
Well done, all. Students, you're future community board members. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but you sound like you're almost the community board of your school. So you're trying to represent the voices of the people there and try to advocate on their behalf. And that's a great thing. That's what people on the community board do as well. But enough of that. Let's throw it open and see if anyone has any comments or questions for anyone who's presented this evening. Actually, I don't see any. It looks like you covered it well. I mean, it's fair to say that this is a difficult issue. And, you know, obviously the key is turning DOT around, because I think so many in the community agree that this is a good thing. As I'm sure you've heard, DOT did promise to reopen this space. So, but let me allow other people. Now I do see a few hands. Let's start with Alice.
Sorry. Thanks, Paul. I really just want to say thank you to Rosa and to Amy and the students. I think it's an extraordinary effort. It's just been exceptional to see this thing start just I don't know, it's even less than a year, and watching it, how it's grown and the momentum. And it really is a fantastic example of grassroots really making a difference. So it's just a hip, hip, hooray. Thank you. And well done.
We appreciate that, and we're excited to take next steps too with, you know, the students are working on 3D renderings for the space, and we're excited to write some letters to DOT and Mayor Adams and whoever else to help kind of push the envelope here.
Yes, I agree. Hopefully you'll be a case study and colleges will bring you in to show everyone how it's done. Okay, Chair Tammy Meltzer is next.
It was nice meeting you all last month, I guess, at this point at the walkthrough, and I am delighted that you took the time to come and see us at CB1. I would hope that you definitely attach a presentation and do a letter writing campaign. It would be great to get the push from a variety of sources. So not only from the PTA or school leadership team that you've got, and however that works, have it pushed through the education side, have it pushed through to the mayor's office. And really, we had such great momentum in that room. There's not one person who disagreed with it, right? I mean, from Aisha at the Smith houses, everyone in leadership at the school. So let's really get the ball rolling down there, that to a point that DOT really does need to find a more immediate solution and a faster way than waiting until this entire crew, who's a freshman now, will be graduated from college by the time they're done. And that's really just not tenable for the students. So yes, thank you for coming, and copy us on every letter. We'll post it, we'll publish, we'll be happy to promote. So thank you.
Bravo.
Tammy, just to follow up on that, so the last communication that I'd had from our elected officials' offices was that they had conversations with DOT, and that DOT had suggested that perhaps they could do an open streets program on one of the streets close by the school. And when I looked at the street, honestly, such a bad idea. Access,
it doesn't work.
No, it's parking on both sides of the street, and it's access that needs to be maintained for the NYPD to get in and out. So basically they're saying, let's put the kids in a parking lot that's active with vehicles going through it. And we think the answer to that is a super hard no. We think that the answer to that is
not a viable solution, and they knew it.
No. And Aisha had a really good point, because when I told her that had happened, she said, no, because then the next thing that the police will do is that they will keep using that parking lot street and then take off another one and privatize that for their use, which means we're worse off than we were when we started, and the kids still don't have a park. So yeah,
exactly.
So we need to push and we need to push hard. And I would say every single person here that is able to help us make that happen, please help us to make that happen right now. Desperately need the space open before the weather gets really, really nice and the kids really want to be outside and there's nowhere for them to go. And there's almost 2,000 kids there.
And I think for Amy, when the letters are being written and you just need 1 or 2 photos of the space that DOT was suggesting, because I guarantee that you're not going to get support from NYPD on where their 40 cars could be that are currently in the street parking lot, etc. that they are.
We will send our yearbook photographers out on the job and put that in there. That's a good idea.
Exactly. Thank you.
And I think we have to continue to just plug away, and thank you for your leadership on this, Rosa. You've been amazing. And, you know, we do have to get DOT to eventually respond to this community board and to our numerous letters and resolutions, which they have not. And that is just unacceptable as well. And we have to make that known and, you know, get them back in the room, because I think we can bring all the parties together. It's great that you've had these meetings, but there are many other players that want to be involved in these discussions. So I think the community board, in many respects, is the best platform for bringing them all into one meeting to discuss this. But with that, unless anyone has...
Paul, one quick thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think Marcella, one of the students, may want to speak. I've been seeing a couple of chat postings. Marcella, are you able to unmute yourself?
Oh, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Oh,
yes,
yeah,
we can.
Go for it.
Sorry about that. I tried logging in on my computer, but like the mic was supposedly broken, so like I wasn't able to speak in the meeting in the like during the slides. So, yeah.
Did you want to add anything, Marcella, while we can hear you?
Oh, well, like, well, first of all, like, I want to give a big shout out to my team, student leadership team. They're like super supportive, especially in this like really important matter, like advocating for like a space for like students and like community members. So want to give a big shout out to them and Amy and Rosa Chan, because I know that you guys are also very much into this like thing, and it's really nice like seeing like support from like other people outside of like school. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Marcella. We appreciate you too.
thank you so much, Marcella.
Yeah. Okay, thanks again to all. Thank you, Principal, and thank you, members of the student body, for coming here. And we look forward to continuing to work on this and being successful in bringing this forward for all concerned parties. Thank you so much. Okay, committee, we do have one more item that I think is a pretty straightforward one. And we do have a representative. First, let me do a quick intro. It's budget season in government circles, state and city. They're both working on their budgets. The mayor recently put forward his budget proposal for the city that has to go before the council. And our mayor, who ran under a platform that 1% of the budget would be set aside for parks, saying how important it was for the city and that COVID proved that and that this is the way to go, has instead proposed a budget, now that he's in office, that is cutting the parks budget by $60 million. So I'm happy to have with us Adam Ganser. He's the executive director of a group called New Yorkers for Parks that is located here in Community Board 1. But he represents citywide interests in advocating for the needs of parks. So let's hear what Adam has to say. And after that, I think we're interested in adopting a resolution to urge the city to restore those funds. But Adam, take it away. Adam, we're not hearing you. So are you muted?
Adam is not muted. Adam, can you try changing your audio settings? Or if you need to, there's a switch audio option where you could use the audio from your phone. And while you're doing that, I know Therese from the Parks Department is on. Therese, would you like to make any comment, or can you, about the budget at this stage and the impact that it would have on the local Parks Department ongoings?
Yeah, thank you. I can just say quickly, you know, we've already been dealing with attrition and not really being able to hire people and prepare for our season, like when we have the most amount of work to do when everybody's outside and the weather's warm. So it comes at a tough time. Not to mention our need for gardeners when it's warm like this.
Can you hear me now?
Plumbers and enforcement. There you go. We can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Adam.
Fantastic.
Do you want to continue, Therese, or okay? Let's let Adam go, and then we'll come back to you if need be. Adam, go ahead.
Great. You know, you laid out the conversation very well. We have come through 2 years where New Yorkers have relied on parks more than ever before. Those 2 years has really called attention to what is a decades-long, a generations-long issue of lack of funding for our Parks Department. New York really never recovered after recessions in 1970s and 1980s, and we've been operating a Parks Department with a skeleton staff for 40 years. And honestly, the last 2 years has really called attention to that. There was a budget cut the COVID year, the 2 fiscal years ago. Within a matter of weeks, the condition of parks across the city were the worst conditions they'd seen in 20 years by their own measure. New Yorkers for Parks has been around for over 100 years, advocating for parks and open spaces in the city. 20 years ago, we launched a campaign called 1% for Parks. That campaign was signed on to then Mayor-elect Michael Bloomberg, went by the wayside after 9/11 happened. We now have a similar situation facing the city where parks, in this case, can be the solution to the issues we've been facing. All mayoral candidates signed on to the 1% for Parks pledge. That was our campaign strategy, along with the Play Fair Coalition. Mayor Adams has signed on to this both in newspapers, on his social media, and most recently, 2 days ago, when they announced some parks that were being built in Brooklyn. Despite all of that, so I'm going to say that there's positive there. This is an idea that is a generation in the making, has the sort of support of the administration, has the support of the majority of the council members. We are in a fiscal crisis, so there's a lot of hedging going on, but the idea of 1% for parks is not going away. The city budget that was announced in the preliminary budget, as you mentioned, is $60 million less than last year's budget, which is, of course, heading in the wrong direction. The reason that's even more problematic is a couple of reasons. First, there's been a hiring freeze at the Parks Department for nearly 2 years. 250 positions were just eliminated just from the most recent PEG. These are positions that are critical to maintaining both the conditions and safety of our parks. That cut and the parks staffing most recently has been masked by federally funded positions, the cleanup court, that have been working in our parks over this last fiscal year. There were nearly 3,200 people working in the parks funded by the federal government. Those positions are going to disappear at the end of June. In addition to that, there's around 350 council-funded, what we call Play Fair Coalition positions at the Parks Department that are set to expire at the end of June. All told, that's nearly 4,000 parks workers that were working in the parks at the beginning of last fiscal year that are not going to be working at in the parks come July 1. This is an absolutely critical and potentially devastating issue. I don't know if you remember the conditions. I can't imagine that you don't, but the parks were really in rough shape during COVID. The usage was through the roof.
and we had far fewer people taking care of it. We would love to get the support of anybody and everybody to write to your electeds, to write to the mayor. Most immediately, however, we are having a rally at City Hall on the morning of the 22nd at 9 a.m. You do not have to RSVP, you can just show up, although we do have some type of an RSVP situation. I just don't want anybody to think they have to do that to come. We are going to be calling for 1% of the city budget for parks. Playfair Coalition is 400 organizations strong. We have many electeds who are going to be showing up, including the Parks Chair, Shekhar Krishnan, who is a huge advocate and anybody who's involved in parks should be in touch with him. I'll leave it at that. This is, I don't get into hyperbole, but I really do believe this is a critical moment with enormous potential and also really dire circumstances if we don't go in the right direction. So I'll leave it with y'all. If you have any questions, certainly let me know. I'll leave my email. I would also like to just point out, see Rosa applauding. Rosa, your project is one of my favorites, and I'm a huge fan, and if there's anything we can do, we will help. And the other one that you mentioned is 34th Avenue, the open streets. It just turns out that my most favorite projects right now are sitting with DOT, not with the Parks Department. But we need more open space, and we're working towards that. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Very good. So I think this is a pretty clear issue. Clearly, our committee has been advocating for additional resources, and we agree with all the conclusions you've been reaching about how the parks have, unfortunately, not fared well. And this notion that with the federal funds drying up, we're going to lose so many more in July is really frightening. So with that, I will make a motion that we adopt a resolution echoing many of the statements and facts that Adam presented and others that we're aware of, and basically urging that the city stick to the 1% for parks promise that has been made, and certainly restore the $60 million that is possibly going to be cut now. So is there a second for that?
I second it, Paul, and I think there's room to mention that in that budget where 0.5% is given to parks, 10% is given to building 4 new jails. Maybe that has to be reflected upon.
Okay.
Absolutely, and
we
I
could
heard.
Make note of... Go ahead. Who else? Any discussion? Let's see. I see Mark, Amarusa, and Rosa. Mark, you go first.
So what exactly is this resolution saying?
Saying the city should not cut the parks budget, and we support a 1% set aside in the city budget on an ongoing basis for New York City parks.
And why did the mayor, I mean, he's always on these stupid talk shows. Did he ever have time to say why he's cutting this budget? Do we know?
I am not aware. I don't know if any of our guests.
Does anyone know? What did he do? Justification?
Adam is going to answer.
Yeah, should I go?
Yeah.
The cuts at this point, the cuts in this fiscal year are basically across the board pegs. They're cuts that are happening at every agency, and they're all coming down basically the same percent, around 3%. And then the same sort of exercise has been done for the preliminary budget, where it's been a kind of across the board reconciliation of the budget from where we were to where he expects to be come June. Our opinion is that that's too easy. You're not making policy priorities and listening to the people of New York City. And so regardless of what the city's budget is, there should be an acknowledgement of the importance of parks and open space to public safety, public health during a pandemic, et cetera. And so those cuts should not be reflected with the Parks Department. And furthermore, what we're really looking for is a commitment to a legitimate commitment to the 1% of the city budget for parks, which again is sort of a fundamental shift in the way that parks are supported in New York City. And I'll just throw out one last thing because this is what I do. That's like a rounding error in the city budget. We're talking about another $400 million in a city budget that's $100 billion. So there's really no reason why this shouldn't happen. And again, at some point, the mayor is going to have to step up to the policies that he won the election campaigning with.
But didn't the state get a whole crap load of money in one of these whatever stimulus packages? We got billions of dollars, and a lot of it's supposed to go to the city. And now, what are they crying poverty? I'm not understanding that. We should mention something about that stimulus money that was given to the state. I think via to the city should be used to close these budget gaps or whatever. Not even budget gaps, just to keep the agencies going the way they should be. So I think we should mention that in the resolution.
Adam, is state money a factor here? You mentioned federal money.
Federal money has been a factor in shoring up the Parks Department and many other agencies during this last fiscal year. Those federal dollars needed to be spent in the fiscal year that we're in. So much of that money was front-loaded, and Teresa, you may know more about this than I do, but front-loaded in the fiscal year budget so that they could literally get rid of that money, use it for things that they needed it for, and then use the city budget money for the second half of the fiscal year. But they cannot use those federal funds after this fiscal year. They disappear.
I mean, the state gives a lot of money to certain city services like education. Do they give any money for parks?
They don't. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I can't tell if I'm on mute. Yeah?
Yes, we hear you.
New York City Parks does not get a significant amount of state money. There are state monies available to different cities and parks departments throughout the state, but New York City does not do a good job of taking advantage of that, and the state does not do a good job of giving it to us.
So should we bring that to light, Paul, in the resolution, that they should?
We could suggest that the city also take advantage during the state's budget process of lobbying for state funds, since they seem to have a big surplus at the moment. Okay.
I have one last question. How is the budget going to, everyone on the board doesn't know or knows me, knows I'm an animal lover. So how does this affect, I know there's a lot of like wildlife projects and care of all the different parks. How is this going to affect any of the management of that?
It has a very direct impact on the management of what in the parks world is called natural areas. There's a natural areas conservancy that works directly with the Parks Department and the city to help operate and maintain what I think is some 15,000 or 20,000 acres of natural areas throughout the city. That's forests, wetlands, et cetera. And their funding is very, very directly dependent on the city budget and the mayor's budget for parks and open space, and also to a certain extent on city council funding. So if there isn't a priority place there, those spaces very much suffer. And it's as much about where you're coming from, which is the wildlife and the flora and fauna that is inherent to those spaces, as it is to our own access to those spaces. If they aren't maintained, they become difficult places for New Yorkers to spend time, and we really should be spending more time in those spaces because they're beautiful and healthy, and they make us all better.
So, Paul, can we add that language? What'd you call it? Natural
areas conservancy.
Natural areas, flora and wildlife. Use those terms as a victim byproduct of the cuts.
We also
we can add that language to it. I very much appreciate it. Okay,
well,
Paul?
I don't want to add too much very specific language. I think this
How about
is a
just
more
the natural
general
area? Then just use that term. And what? I mean.
Paul, I would like to just say you don't forget to put that it's a critical tool in the fight against climate change. That that seems like a pretty important point that we should add.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's more of a absolute immediate effect would be on these natural flora wildlife issues. That's why I would want it in there.
Okay. Let's keep
All
going.
right, thanks for putting it in.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rosa?
Hi, thank you. So first of all, thank you for coming. This is so incredibly important, and I'm really, really happy that you're here. Please let us know every little thing that we can do to support both of you in getting the budget up, because I think we all know, I mean, obviously we wouldn't be in this committee if we didn't feel that parks were critically important to our urban experience. And so we support you 100%. I'm wondering if we can add a little bit about sort of the open space crisis that we're having down in Lower Manhattan, because with all of the really critical necessary infrastructure for flooding and resiliency that we need to have going on all of our perimeter park space, which is where pretty much actually almost all of our park spaces down here, and most of our active recreation space is going to be under construction for resiliency, and that's going to take it offline from use for years. You know, the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project has already started. I saw that there were barges out over by Wagner the other day. I know that Battery Park City is, you know, doing their work, and the Army Corps of Engineers folk are doing their analysis for up above, and that EDC has already, you know, started on FIDI Seaport resiliency design. I mean, we are at a point where we're, you know, when I last looked, we were at, you know, 20% of the city median of active recreation space down here. And with all of that resiliency work taking our parks offline, that means we're probably going to be at like 2%, which is sort of crazy bonkers. Because I consider the Hudson River Park and Battery Park City my sanity space. You know, when I'm feeling a little out of it, I go and walk there and I take a deep breath, I recenter myself and feel a little bit more like a human being. And during the pandemic, feeling a little bit more like a human being is essential. And now, if we do not invest in the parks that we have that are inland down here, we are going to go insane, because our sanity spaces will be taken from us, not because of, you know, any big boogeyman or whatever, but because we need to do the resiliency work. We must do the resiliency work. So to me, it's not even a question of if, it's a question of, you know, how much money can we toss at this to make this work so that we do not all go crazy. So please just let us know how we can support everything we can do to support. And Adam, I'm absolutely terrified because I had no idea all those job cuts were coming. That's like, okay. I now feel like the world is back on fire again, but thank you.
Okay, Eric?
Yeah, hi. I want to make a comment that this is very alarming. I'm concerned that they'll reduce the park enforcement officers. They patrol the areas that many times the NYPD doesn't, especially within the parks. So, yeah, we don't want the parks turning back into the 70s or the 80s. And I've seen the parks enforcement officers, or whatever their name is, I've seen them actually question people and respond to things, and I feel that they're essential. So, Paul, if there's something you can add in about security in the parks being paramount importance, appreciate that.
Okay, we could, I guess, talk about maintaining the PEP force, or especially at a time like this when a lot of people are very concerned about the crime rate in the city. So, well, good point. Diana, you're taking some of these notes as well, right?
I got it all.
All right, so we'll compare notes. Thank you all. Let's see. Therese, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I know that we mentioned PEP, but you understand that Urban Park Rangers is a separate program, that they actually protect our wildlife. They respond to bird emergencies. You know, the woodcocks are hitting a lot of our buildings lately. I don't know if any of you have actually rescued any, but there was a great article in Curb the other day to read. But yeah, so Urban Park Rangers is a lot of wildlife programs. The programming that we do really connects the community to their parks and makes them active parks so that they're safer and there's less work for PEP to have to do. So all of these things work together to make a beautiful park that is safe and active and healthy. So a lot of what we do, you can't kind of puzzle it together if you don't take it apart. And you have to know the pieces.
Thank you. Well, this has been a good discussion. We will add these items and make sure there's an understanding that, you know, while we want the budget restored, these are some of our particular concerns here in Community Board 1. And I would also add that, you know, we'll urge Tammy to bring this to the Borough Board for additional support there. Okay. Are we ready to call the question?
Yes.
Second. And if you find an injured bird, bring it to the Wild Bird Fund up the west side. The Wild Bird Fund. I'm actually certified in wild bird transport, but that's the place to bring it.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Who takes the vote? Do you do that, Diana?
I'm going to assume that this is probably unanimous or very close to it. So I'm going to assume all of the votes are positive. If you are opposed, abstaining, or recused, let me know now. Okay, it's unanimous.
Great. Thank you, committee. Does anyone have any new business to bring up? Okay, not hearing any. I thank you. Good meeting. And thank you, Eric. Thank you, Therese. Good to have you. And we will bring this to the full board for a vote next week. Thank you, and you have a good evening all.
Thank you.
This was a great meeting. Great meeting.
Good night, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.